Hello, and welcome to the 68th episode of Rambling Weekly. Uh, how's it going? uh, I have been a busy bumblebee to some degree. And yeah, so we're going to get into a topic. I know it's kind of a weird topic, title for this, not topic, but it'll make sense during the topic. But first, we're going to take a break, kind of work out everything, and then go from there. So stick around. Welcome back. That first tune there is from Final Fantasy X. I probably got a very basic palette, we'll say, for the different wonderful tunes from that soundtrack. Not that I forget, but I forget that 10 is done by three different people. You have Nobuo Uematsu, what's it? Hamauzu. I wrote this down because I will forget. Hamauzu, where's it? Masashi, and Masashi Hamauzu, and then Junya Nakano. Yeah, who the other this song Mountain or Servants of the Mountain is that one's by Hamauzu, and he composed Final Fantasy 13. What else did he do? I totally wrote notes for this because honestly, I kind of forgot that he composed 13. Which, sorry, David, I know you like a lot of tunes from that game, but I've just he's done 13, Saga Frontier 2, game that just came out in February, Wild Hearts, as well as Front Mission, Gun Hazard. So there's a bunch of other stuff there as well. It's just those are the ones that I wrote down, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a bit of a there's a bit going on there. I've always really liked that tune, and it also helps that it's in snowy mountains. That's always that's an easy sell for me to be like, yes, the mountains and there's snow, cool. Probably going to be a place that I like. Probably going to be a tune that I enjoy. Not 100%, but 19 times out of 20. Anyways, yeah, how's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing well. I have been busy, very busy with work. I not only been busy with work, but I mentioned it to Slade and in the little Discord that I have, but I mentioned it that I actually went and bought Tears of the Kingdom, even though I didn't play Breath of the Wild. I played 15 minutes of Breath of the Wild, and the concerns that I had for why I sort of kept it at arm's length are totally justified. I understand. Yeah, I can be a bit neurotic with it. Here's my thing. I am actually really enjoying the game, and in playing it, it makes me actually want to go back to play Breath of the Wild to see certain things be different and be like, oh, half the time I'm like, oh, this would be a nightmare to get through. Glad this is really easy. Oh wait, I've got a different, entirely new, exciting nightmare to contend with. So, yeah, I can't tell you exactly how much I've done, because there's a lot to do. It is, to me, it has that same energy that games like Morrowind has, where they've incorporated something new for this one, as opposed with Breath of the Wild, where it's like, I won't say what it is exactly, but I'll just say that what it allows you to do is be creative, be very creative. And I mean, I know it's not really much of a spoiler in that regard, but um, just be creative. And it's one of these games where I'm playing it, and I'll get back to the Morrowind comparison in a moment, but it's one of those games that I'm playing and I'm going, this is an incredibly stupid idea. Let's do it. We'll just save and then try this, because odds are there's a good chance that it might end up getting me killed, because there are still things that I'm like, I'm still grappling with the how A, strong explosions can be, and B, how big those explosions can be. And it's like, oh, okay. Found that out with a bomb flower very quickly. I was like, oh boy. That are just how the temperature stuff works. I'm like, okay. I mean, yeah. So it is very fun. I am enjoying it. So Slade, consider, if there's ever a time you feel in doubt that your words do not reach people, you convinced me to give Tears of the Kingdom a shot. And yeah, here, just so you oh, look, there it is. So yeah, I am enjoying it, and the piecemeal stuff of the story isn't awful. I'm not like, I think I got it pretty quickly, and then there are certain things that you can find that there we'll just say there's certain like cinematic things that you can find that you're like, oh, okay, all right, this. And if you don't find them in order, and you can find some of them way out of order. And prior to finding one of them, I was like, I think I've got an idea with this, and then it sort of, I think it solidified it a bit for me, and also added something. So I'm like, okay. The bits, so in the sense of comparing it to Morrowind, kind of similar with the story beats, to where it's like, hey, okay, a little bit different, but it's like, oh, you get in contact with somebody to be like, hey, we need to do this, go do this, the end. Like, and then you're just kind of on your own. I and that also lends into the creativity aspect, to where it's like, hey, you need to figure out a way to get to do this. Like, I know one of the dungeons that I did, you, and with a lot of other things as well, is that you can just kind of go, oh, well, I'm going to do this way. And it worked for me. It might have made that last little thing I needed to find kind of a pain in the butt, but yeah, I was able to kind of figure out a way to get through it. I will say this: the boss fights feel a bit more cinematic. They're pretty cinematic. I'm not against it, but I wouldn't say they are as difficult as I expected them, or like it felt like it would be. And I can kind of understand why it might be difficult. Who knows? It might be when everything sort of converges into one. It might be a little bit harder. I don't know. I've done my best to ignore things online. The what am I thinking? I think that's really about it. Oh, and it's like you can set quest markers, but outside of looking up on the map where the things are, it's not, you're not being inundated with, hey, go this direction, or whatnot. And I think that's important, because I feel like that, or having a miniature map, and this is a problem that I had with like East, Celceta 7, I think, did it as well, and 8, because I didn't play 9, but just having do the exploration, in doing the exploration, you're focusing too much on the map, as opposed to what's around you, and so you're not it's just too much information, so you're not taking in just the look of it and stuff. And then it makes me wonder, like, what are they going to do for the next Zelda kind of thing. And I know it's like, dude, the game just came out like a week ago, and it's more of just the, okay, you're doing so much here, where do you go? The only thing I could think of would be take all these lessons that you learned from this, pull Link and go on a side adventure. I think it's time for another side adventure for Link. Whether it be the one from this one or a brand new one. Time to do oracles of I don't know, something. Throw a word in there somewhere. I think it would be neato to do that. But yeah, it is. I'm really enjoying it. I kind of wanted to be cheeky and name the the title for this. I'd rather be playing Zelda, but that's not fair. And not quite true, but it's it'd just be fun and cheeky to just kind of do that. But I fail, and I miss those opportunities. Sorry. What else have I been doing? Working a bunch. Like it is is what it is. I anything else really good going on? Working a bunch, doing that. Really not. Like, I admit it. I kind of did a little bit of slacking on the book editing, but I think it's sometimes you do have to take that little bit of a break and just sort of decompress. And I think that's kind of one of the. I think I'm allowed to do that every now and again, whether I want to or not. in that way. Yeah, that's really been about it. Not too much else that's gone like, yeah. Oh man, this shirt. I wore this shirt today and it needs cleaned. Gracious. I feel gross. Oh boy. Oh well. Yeah. Now that I've noticed that. Anyways, we're going to take a break and then get into the topic and then go from there. So stick around. Welcome back. That tune there is A Contest of Aeons, and that is from Junya Nakano, who also did Threads of Fate, which I think is, what is that, Du Prism? I think it's the PS1 RPG, if I remember correctly. Threads of Fate, as well as I did a little bit of help on the, I think it was the 1992 I wrote it down. I was trying to do it without. 1992 X-Men arcade game, done by Konami. Helped to some degree with that. So, yeah. I really like the tune. It's one of those things that builds up to where around that like minute 20 mark or so, when it has that kind of really strong that yeah, it's really intense. Kind of similar, even though Hamazu did it, of not like similar sounding, but the percussion, similar energy, we'll say, with the percussion from the song Challenge from this game. At least that's the vibe I get, because I was gonna pick Challenge, and then I was like, but servants of the mountain, and then yeah, sorry, oops. Anyways, the topic is hearts of iron, and it doesn't have anything to do with the game, and then livers of glass, and it's paraphrasing a line I'm using in this story that I'm working on. And the idea is, I feel like this is something that at least I know there's certainly times that I've done it. I know plenty of people in my life who do it. I see it very much societally as well, as there is a very strong, like, beating heart of like a passion, like hearts of iron, like very very steeled passion of wanting to do certain things, whether that's wanting to do wanting to be a content creator, wanting to be famous, wanting to be an athlete, wanting to do this, da, 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 da. And then there is the unfortunate side effect of the crushing reality is like, hey, no, that comes along and smacks you upside the head. That for some things it's just, it's kind of might be beyond our capabilities, we'll say. And for the other, it's that which is where the back half of this title comes from, slash the line, because it's a piece of dialogue. The livers of glass. Now, liver, not something we think too much about other than when drinking or having fatty food, cirrhosis, I think that's called. The damaging of the liver to where it's kind of scars and whatnot. And how, like, we there used to be phrases in there about being like liver belly, yellow liver kind of thing, where it's a bit of a scaredy cat. Lacking the constitution, we'll say, to push through something. And I think the organ needs a little bit more recognition nowadays. We don't ever really think about it other than the thing that detoxes. And less about detox and more about giving you that the chutzpah to not necessarily challenge. In a way it is challenge, but to push through something. And I think that's part of the problem, is that there is the catalyst of wanting to go, but then there isn't the sustained ability to do so, whether that's due to personal inertia, really just becoming inert and then just bloop, or because of external forces that causes us to be like, okay, it's not fair to say that you should just kind of be the still, like, the steeled kind of, I don't know, axe head to kind of cleave through any sort of problems, because sometimes you're just not able to cleave through them. You could certainly try, and it's going to dull and dent it, but nah. And so sometimes, a lot of times, we might just be like, oh, we're going to go this way, or that way. And that's necessary at times, but kind of similar to any habit that you build. If you don't build the habits, kind of like similarly saying no to something. If you say no to something, you build the habit of saying no again. But on both sides, if you never say no, kind of just get turned into and something that can be pushed and prodded into doing certain things. But same thing if you always say no, people will possibly push and prod you, or just kind of leave you to be okay. Be that stalwart rock. You can just sit there like any other rock and not move. We're going that way. So yeah, that's the thing that concerns me a lot, and I know I've probably talked about it at other topics, or even just as an aside during topics. But I think that is really, really a problem we have, is that, and I know I see it on a personal level a lot of times, people having the saying a certain thing, and for myself as well, not trying to disclude myself and be like, oh no, all the other people doing it, I am just a paragon of everything that is good. No, I've certainly done it before as well. I've done it plenty of times. There's going to be times where I do it down the road. Heck, I might have even done it today. Can't really think of it, but there's probably a time in which I did it today, and I'm just not aware of it. The going and saying and do something. Actually, I can think of something. I gotta respond to an email. So there's still an email that I have that I haven't responded to, but yeah, it's the startup is super easy to a degree. Like, I guess the and maybe it's the startup part of it. Nah, yeah, I'll say the startup. Startup is kind of easy because you can just start to like get the ball rolling, but it could be like a very easy trap to fall into. Bark, 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 bark. Is that the ball turns into Sonic, and you're charging your spin, and that's all you're doing. Just and then you just kind of like, probably not a good idea. That, or you let it go and it's like straight into spikes. I was never very good at Sonic. I like certain Sonic games. Always will have a soft spot in my heart for the Game Gear version, and I think also it's the Sonic 1 version on the Master System. I think those are the same. But at least remember playing it on the Game Gear for the Sonic Hedgehog game. That one will always have a special place in my heart because I love that game. The Brain Scratch Zone tune in that one. I mean, all the tunes in that one are really, really enjoyable. It's the bridge. I think it's like the second zone or something like that. Anyways, it's a good tune. It's really lighthearted. It is enjoyable. Stage not so much because those platforms but anyways, the that is the problem I see beset us. I mean, there are a myriad of ones. This is one that I'm bringing up for this episode, is that there is a very strong, stalwart initial boom, and then there's just no staying power. I mean, case in point, like look at some of the stuff I've done for the channel. Look at Rambling Weekly. Look at the first run of Rambling Weekly. The first run of Rambling Weekly went 26 episodes or something. 3 of them were like a year and a half after the first initial run of stuff, and then there was a 3-year spat of nothing. So like, yeah, liver or glass moment. Like that is a for whatever reason, either just being annoyed or just dissatisfied with myself for either feeling I need to have better topics or just not really. I think a big one was topics in particular. I know I ended it like that run with a pretty heavy topic of just like, I think it was like what, lost yet never had kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's just the inability to keep something sustained is not necessarily just a strictly US problem. It's a problem I think people on a human level. I'm a human, right? I'm a flesh automaton. I have no idea. I don't know what I do or why I do half the things I do. Probably more like 3/4 of things I do. But I totally forgot where I was going because I felt like trying to make a funny. And that is a shame because but yeah, liver of glass moments, not being able to sustain things on a human level. That is a I think it's a quality that, or quirk, or struggle we all deal with. Kind of makes me think of how though it's not quite the same, it can kind of veer into it. How somebody who doesn't have a struggle, not to say that everybody, but I think you see this a lot in like public schooling and stuff, where you have somebody who excels and then they kind of hit a peak and then sort of just regress. And part of it is, especially if they've done that for a very long time, where they've excelled and they've never had that like struggle to be able to readapt, we'll say, they will just kind of hit that wall and just be like, okay, whatever. I mean, I know, not to say like I excelled at things, but I know there were times where I would hit a moment in class where it's just kind of like, okay, I'm doing good at this, and then like even if it wasn't great at class, I remember in 5th grade taking, being so high and full of myself, taking a cloud quiz. It was for science class, right? And all the different clouds and whatnot, and I bombed that thing. A, I didn't study for it. B, whatever. I bombed that thing like awfully bad, and I was like, clouds are stupid. Like that kind of mentality. That is another liver of glass moment where it's just like, oh, okay, I'm not the problem. I'm not the complete stooge. It's that clouds are dumb. And I'm being cheeky about it, but it's just, that is a that's a gut check. That's a gut check that I failed miserably, because instead of going, okay, humbling myself, I really need to a retake this thing, and B, not be a complete buffoon about this and go, hey, like, I guess I'll add another one that's a bit more of a nicer one. I remember in 1st grade misspelling Santa Claus, and went to the teacher because she said that I got it right, but I know for a fact that I had flipped the A and U, but because of the line, and she was an older woman, she couldn't tell that. And it wasn't like I was trying to be sneaky about it. Maybe I was and I don't remember it, but I don't think I would have gone back and been honest and said, hey, I actually had these flipped. But she still gave me, she was like, oh, well, no, that's all right. Like, thank you for being honest. I think of moments like that where it's like, oh, honesty is rewarded. Maybe not the best thing, but then it's like, oh, does that implant a seed of being honest? When you don't really have to be, when you could have been like, oh, I got a perfect and the bonus point. Ain't that great? I don't know where I'm going with it. That, I guess I just felt like sharing more silly stories from. I had to balance it out from, hey, I'm an idiot. No, in 1st grade I was honest, not smart, but at least honest. If there's one thing you could say about me, is I'm not smart. Why do I do that? Oh boy. Gracious. But yeah, I think writing is with the books, particularly the longer books. These are another gut checks, or whether or not you have a liver of glass sort of moment. just because of how long it takes. Some people can just, Stephen King it and just bleed out a book super quick. I am not one of those people, for better or for worse. And I think part of that, and this is something I've talked with David about before, is I have a bit more of a yeoman's approach to. I think I might be using that wrong, but we'll say a workman's approach, just in case if I am using that wrong, somebody would be like, "Oh, this is what this moron's trying to say." A little bit more of a workman's approach to doing things, where I don't know. I think just saying the word should be enough to describe it. I have a very steady kind of go at it, and then there's times where I'm like, yeah, I really don't want to do this. I'm going to do something else for a moment. Okay, I'm back. I will say this: in editing this book, I feel a lot more. I don't want to say connected. I don't want to say happy, but a little bit more happy, a little bit more. This is nice, because Sujaba was such a stern kind of harumph, for lack of a better word. I say it's a dark tale. I'm just trying to figure out other words to use, but it is it's stern. It's I do know though. I do know, but I'm not going to say it. The end. So yeah, I don't know. That's I think and maybe I am wrong in thinking that there are these pronounced or impassioned bits to people, but I really feel like there's this just strong heartedness, and similarly to a locomotive or like a ship or even just a vehicle of some sort, any sort of vehicle, some sort of vessel, that the more hardened, the more hearty, the heavier this thing is, or weighted for either through emotions, through desires, through just this push. You need to have that engine to be able to crank out, whether the horsepower, or we'll just go with the horsepower to crank out the horsepower to get the thing to move, because you can heat that thing up all you want, but if it doesn't have enough horsepower to get it to go, I think of the trouble that the shipman ran into with the Cerberus and the Terror, HMS Cerberus, for the Brits when they try to go through the Northwest Passage, I think, trying to go sail through above the Canadas, and they got stuck. Part of that was because they had a new shiny coal engine and not enough coal to power it up, and it was heavy, and it got stuck in ice, and about 80 other thousand things went wrong. It was the story of The Martian, but horrible and not nearly as funny, probably. We will. I will venture to say I don't think it was nearly as comical. Going to throw that out there. Great book, interesting stuff. They found the wreckage of it not a few years back, which was pretty neat as well. So I know they made a mini series on it 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't remember who made it, but there was a mini series, and the main captain of the HMS Terror is the guy who played Caesar in HBO's Rome. I can't think of his name, but pretty cool. So yeah. Anyways, that's what I got. Hearts of Iron. I can't really say anything about the game, never, or series, never played it. People seem to like it. Cool. Hearts of Iron, Livers of Glass. I guess I could make that rhyme, but The moment has passed. That was awful. And on that note, I'm going to take a break and we'll get a quote and then be on our merry way. So stick around. Welcome back. That there tune is, I mean, it's probably the, maybe the, if not the favorite of the series. How about the game? Favorite from FF10. It's a high one up there. A fleeting dream. That there's probably a few other ways that it's titled. That's the way I'm going to go with it. And this is Uematsu, but Hamauzu is second credited for it. So throw that in there. I don't know how much effort he was involved, or how much he was involved with making the tune and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it's just the point at which it happens in the game, when it gets to that point, and just the tune in general, just primo stuff. Yeah. So the quote I'm going to go with is from, it's quoted for by Thucydides, and it is in reference to Pericles, an orator from Athens. I think he was Athens. Let me double check. I think he was an Athenian. Yeah, during the Athenian Golden Age, specifically between the Persian and Peloponnesian Wars. So we're looking at a very long time ago. 23 to 24 and a half hundred years ago. And this quote is from Book 2, Chapter 44, The Funeral Oration, as translated in Defense of Democracy. Now I think about it, I think this is a quote of Pericles, so it's not I think it's at his funeral, if I remember correctly. I think. Now that I'm saying this, I'm having second doubts. I believe so. We're going to stick with this and be wrong. Possibly. But I want to say this is spoken at his funeral. I want to say, yeah. Anyways, I could tell you a long story, and you know it as well as I do, about what is to be gained by beating the enemy back. What I would prefer is that you should fix your eyes every day on the greatness of Athens, as she really is, and should fall in love with her. When you realize her greatness, then reflect that what made her great was men with a spirit of adventure, men who knew their duty, men who were ashamed to fall below a certain standard. If they ever failed in an enterprise, They made up their minds that, at any rate, the city should not find their courage lacking to her, and they gave to her the best contribution that they could. They gave her their lives, to her and to all of us, and for their own selves they won praises that never grow old, the most splendid of sepulchres, not the sepulchre in which their bodies are laid, but where their glory remains eternal in men's minds, always there on the right occasion to stir others to speech or to action. For famous men have the whole earth as their memorial. It is not only in inscriptions on their graves in their own country that mark them out. No, in foreign lands also. Not in any visible form, but in people's hearts. Their memory abides and grows. It is for you to try to be like them. Make up your minds that happiness depends on being free, and freedom depends on being courageous. And sometimes that last bit gets translated out to the secret of happiness is freedom, and the secret to freedom is courage. So, uh, it's a bit of a quagmire to kind of step into with this quote, I think, because there something that sticks in my craw is a lot where people want to talk about community, and community is very important. However, community isn't simply just coming together and then just doing the thing. Community, much like friendships or any sort of bond, there is some sort of sacrifice made. And not necessarily in some sort of like crazy, cloaks in the wood, blood sacrifice kind of. I know it's just a stupid way to paint that, but in the sense of this is people you're choosing to spend your time with. There is something given, and it isn't just yourself being present. There's more to it than just that. But I don't think people think that. I'm not in people's heads. I'm only in my own, and however much space is in there, whether it be a lot or just a little bit, I pretend it's a lot. There, I really feel like people don't think of it in that way. They just think of it as long as I'm present, there I be, kind of, if that makes any sense. And there is more to it too. And I think that this is also how it ties into the. And I know I've really stressed this livers of glass kind of thing, but I think that kind of ties into it, is that there is the gumption, the energy to be like, I'm here, and then it just sort of falls apart. There isn't anything beyond that. And I think this is, sure, and this is going to be a topic for a different episode at some point, a word, much like consumption, that has fallen by the wayside, or at least altered in its meaning. And this one has been kind of forgotten in the lexicon of English to a very large degree, except for like dorks and and nerds like ourselves when it comes to just kind of old school stuff. But glory has and I've mentioned it before. I think I actually mentioned it in a different episode about the quest for glory, but then there's also the vainglorious. Like that is a thing. It is the most German English word I can think of off the top of my head, just because it smashes vain and glory together, or glorious, vain and glorious together, and pops out a meaning very much in a German fashion of just throw those two words together. You'll get what it means. Thoughts in the back of your mind. And or what's that? Verschmelz. That's Verschmelz. I think I never say the word right. World weariness. Yeah. So, I guess that's something I get harumph about, is that people will say things about community, but then don't ever calculate really what that all involves. Like, it's not just singular things coming together and then just kind of hanging out. It's sort of coalescing. So there will be quote unquote parts of you that get lost in the process, like much like anything. And sometimes that's scary for people. That's all I got. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for listening, watching, and all that sort of fun stuff. And yeah, I know I got to talk about the song, but I will get this all out because I want to gush about the song a small little bit. I hope you do enjoy your day, weekday, and everything in between. Weeknight, weekend, that sort of thing. Even when you're dreaming and sleeping. Enjoy. And the outro for this one is my favorite tune from the game, and that is the fight with Seymour. How is that translated? Fight with Seymour. Yeah, and this one's an Uematsu one. Speaking of which, I wanted to also throw out the honorable mention for Yuna's theme. I really like that tune. It gets used, the leitmotifs of it get used for Steki Daine, and I actually really like that song. I like that scene a lot. I think it's really cool that to have that. You can see the evolution of love stories from what was presented in 4 with Cecil, not Cecil, Cecil and Rosa. Carry all the way through, and you see how it is with Titus and Yuna. And I don't know, Yuna's theme makes me think that it was it makes me think I don't know if it's the instrumentation or whatnot, but it makes me think it was from 8 for some reason. Like, I hear that tune, I'm like, this, you could have just like ripped it out and just plopped it in 8 somewhere. Don't really need to, because 8's a fantastic soundtrack all on its own, but it feels like it's from that or 7 to some degree. And I know that it's I don't know, there's something about it. It's just Yuna's theme. It's a really good theme. I like it a lot. But we're going with Fight with Seymour because that intro, just like, I get it, and then when the percussion starts up at that 20-second marker, so it's like and then it's like the 2-minute and like 20 mark or so where it gets into that I'm putting in a big chunk of the song just so you can hear that part, but it's that repetitious bit that comes in after the 2-minute mark and stuff that plays for a while. I, as poorly as I could, replicated my own version of that, not necessarily intentionally, but I like when that happens, in one of my songs that I made that I cannot remember the title to because I'm an idiot. What is this? I'm gonna look it up because it's gonna make me mad. It's gonna bother me until I get it. It's one of the heart ones, and I use the word heart for a lot of songs. That's why it's not sticking to me. Boom, 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 boom. Somebody else probably has the answer, and I don't because I am Ledoom. Where are you at? I haven't done any music in a while, so I've been kind of fiddling with stuff, but I've just not. There's my thing. Taylor's Tunes. All right, it is. I think it's Against One's Heart. If it's not Against One's Heart, then I couldn't tell you which one it is. I think it's Against One's Heart. It has a thing that repeats on like in the middle part of the song and stuff. But like I said, not like I was trying to channel my best Uematsu, but it would be really nice. Uematsu, if you can hear me, give me some of your musical talent. I would really appreciate it. And on that note, take it easy. Bye. Enjoy. Thanks for listening. All that sort of fun stuff. And I'll catch you next week. See ya.